Welcome to The Bone, the podcast that goes deeper. Here we cut through the noise and get straight to the core of the issues that matter. From real stories to raw truths, we dive deep into the conversations that shape our world and challenge our thinking. We're not afraid to dig in and get to the marrow of it all. Whether it's life, culture, or business in sports medicine, we're here to break it down raw and real. No filters, no fluff, just to the bone. With your host, Shelby Daly, we're getting to the bone. This is a clinically pressed, approved CEU podcast. Find the quiz to gain credit at clinicallypressed.org/courses. Clinically Pressed Company, making the complicated simple through results that give back. Find out more at clinicallypressed.org. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Bone. We have the BOC crew with us today, Shannon, Fleming, and Heather Collins. And today we're talking about continuing professional certification, the CPC, which is a new program that offers renewal paths. So there is the new CPC renewal, and then there's a legacy renewal. So we're going to talk about the differences between that because athletic trainers need to know the new pathways on how to maintain your certification. The CPC renewal is launching in 2026 and introduces a more personalized and flexible approach to professional development. So welcome to the show, Shannon and Heather. Glad to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks you for having us.
Yeah. So can you kind of walk us through this new CPC program and why the BOC decided to transition to this model?
Sure, I can take that one. So CPC is a new path to certification renewal that will be launched, and it's meant to empower ATs to not just count their CEUs, but to make those CEUs count for them. There will be options in 2026, and on our website, you can find a framework that outlines what those options are. But the primary difference between the two is that CPC renewal, ATs earn 40 CEUs. And in addition, the CPC renewal requires that ATs participate in a Pathfinder platform periodically throughout the entire renewal period, completing specific criteria, including challenge questions that are given throughout segments, and those segments are about 3 months long. And for those that are doing the full reporting period, they must complete 7 of those 8 segments in that two-year renewal. So I can get into Pathfinder a little bit more deeply, but I just want to mention that also there will be the legacy renewal path, which is essentially what we know today, right? The current requirements for ATs, where they have 50 CEUs due for completing requirements.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I'm happy to dive into Pathfinder a little bit further if that's something you think would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I know Pathfinder, the word's been thrown around, but I don't think people actually understand the whole process. And it's been around for a couple of years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, so we piloted Pathfinder in 2024, and those results were really quite positive. But what it consists of is we call them my goals, my challenge questions, my learning path, and my reflection. So those 4 components combined make up the Pathfinder platform. So under my goals, you answer a series of questions, not very many. I want to say like 5 questions, that are reflective, right? And then it asks you to create goals in a SMART goal fashion, right? SMART meaning specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it gives you, a template to use. So the goals is pretty simple to use. And that is, it needs to be specific to you and your situation. Nobody can write your goals for you. Those are something that have to be personalized for your situation, your practice setting, your um, aspirations professionally. So those are my goals. And to complete the Pathfinder, all ATs will be required to complete 2 of those. So, and then you have the My Challenge questions, which is kind of the fun part of the Pathfinder tool. It will provide 15 questions every segment. And again, those segments are about 3 months long. If you think about it, it's kind of quarterly. It's off a little bit, but and those challenge questions, which were created by subject matter experts, ATs in the business, and they used the practice analysis as far as the blueprint for these questions. And they used journal articles to find contemporary information to write these items about, or things like the position statements. So things that are important for ATs to know that are cutting edge. And so those 15 questions are, you answer the question, you then indicate whether you're confident that you got it correct or you're not confident. And then you click a button that says check answer. And it gives you immediate feedback of whether you got it right or wrong. If you got it right, the rationale as to why it's right. If you got it wrong, the rationale to why it's wrong, the answer you selected is wrong, but then also what the correct answer is and why it's correct. So it gives you that immediate feedback. What it also does is it gives you 2 journal articles related to that question, and you can bookmark those to read at a later time. And it also provides 2 recommendations for continuing education programs based on the question itself. And that's through an artificial intelligence recommender that we have built. And so that's kind of the fun part of the My Challenge questions. They're just meant to, they're not scored in any way. It's not dependent on, your certification at all. It's just something to help you find and be aware of your strengths, but also maybe some gaps. And once you do those 15 questions, they're plotted on a learning awareness dashboard that tells you, okay, you answered this question incorrectly, but you were pretty confident that you got that correct. So it's going to put that question in a risk zone, right? A red area where, gosh, that could be a potential gap for you. And it might be something that you want to look at creating a goal or finding a program to align with. And so that's the fun part about the My Challenge questions. And then the My Learning Path is an area where your goals are automatically put on the learning path. But then you can pin those recommended courses if they really think they fit for you. You could pin it to your My Learning Path. You can go to the program directory and, find other programs that you could put there. And so what that does is it gives you a list of items for your learning journey. And you can set reminders. So, say something is happening in person in December. You can set a reminder of, hey, I want to make sure that I look at that a little bit closer to see if I want to register. And so that learning path does that. And then towards the end of your learning journey, at the end of the reporting cycle, you are asked to reflect on that learning journey and answer, I think it's 3 or 4 questions. What were some things that you took away? What were some barriers that you ran into? Those types of things. So it's really just it's a platform to help you be more intentional about what your selecting for your professional development. So, um, so yeah, that's what Pathfinder is. It's really exciting to let everybody see it.
Yeah. Well, I know there's been some studies that this kind of supports, and that athletic trainers are very confident in certain areas, but those are actually like their weakest areas that they're practicing. So it's cool that you guys have developed a program with the Pathfinder and the CPC that helps people realize maybe you're not as strong as you think you are in these areas. Um, but as you were explaining, so this is just guidance. It's not saying you have to do these types of CEUs, correct?
Correct. It is strictly a guiding tool. Just because you put something on your timeline doesn't mean that you have to complete it. Just because you make a goal doesn't mean you have to meet it. You know, what I tell people is you're going to get out of this what you put into it. And we hope that people find it really helpful in, making more meaningful selections for their continuing education. And you're right, there are certainly studies, we've been looking at this a really long time. I go back to an article or a report published by the Institute of Medicine at the time, back in 2010, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was redesigning continuing education in the health professions. And it really made us think about CE a little bit differently, especially in healthcare professions. And how can it be redesigned to improve patient outcomes? And so, really, that was kind of the report that was a turning point for us. And so, in 2016, we had began that task force at looking at continuing education and thinking about how we can make this more meaningful and impactful for athletic trainers. I was just at a conference this past week, and they talked about how CE alone just doesn't quite do it unless it's intentional and meaningful and engaging to the learner.
Mm.
And so it really, I went away from that session thinking, gosh, we're on the right path on with Pathfinder and CPC.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned quality of care. How else do you see that the CPC program is going to help the profession of athletic training?
Yeah, so I feel like that it takes us to another level, right? If if we want to be, if athletic trainers want to be treated like healthcare professionals, then our continuing education, our professional development, should align with those standards and those expectations. And really, that's what the public is expecting, right? I think it was um, gosh, I want to say it was maybe AARP did a study a while back that asked about the expectations of credentialing healthcare providers. And they all expected that healthcare providers, and I think it was maybe in particular to physicians, maintained a certain level of competence, and that they all were expected to be, have this cutting edge knowledge and skills
Mm-hmm.
throughout their entire career. So, really, the public is expecting for athletic trainers to have that knowledge and skills at a certain level um, throughout their lifetime.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I think people have come up with is there's the credential chasers, the ABC names, and are they really putting any meaning behind it? And do they have the core competencies to be able to carry out all these certifications that they're kind of chasing after? So I think this is a great way to ground the athletic trainer and what are you trying to do in your practice? What is your practice philosophy in your clinical skills? So I think this will help, bring the quality that we talked about before and uh, a little bit more standard of care, not necessarily to box athletic trainers into all practicing the same, but I think it's that uh, we have a good understanding of what we're trying to provide to our patient cases and patient load. So I think, I think this is a great way to do that ultimately.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with the different stakeholders that work with athletic trainers, how might the CPC help the athletic trainers demonstrate their value to employers, patients, or even the broader healthcare system? I know that some employers make sure, you do your yearly annual checkup, performance reviews, and sometimes they provide, these are some benchmarks that I want you to start to achieve, or, these are some weaknesses that I've seen in your practice. Can these merge together a little bit, or do you think having this Pathfinder can help provide evidence to these employers and stakeholders of what you're actually doing and trying to achieve?
Shelby, as you talk about, what could be done at point of care, but I want to take a step back a little bit and talk about how you can use the Pathfinder system to demonstrate value to your employers, and then we're going to move from there if that's all right.
Yeah, totally.
So what the CPC does is it allows, and Pathfinder does, is it allows ATs to show the value of what they do in a tangible way. It helps them to write it down and capture it. So through Pathfinder, athletic trainers can, as Shannon mentioned, set professional goals, track progress, and document their learning in a one-stop shop. And this isn't just about, of course, CEUs, it's about showing thoughtful, meaningful growth towards specific goals, supported by intentional learning activities, evidence-based practice, timelines, reflections, etc. Right? That's being captured. And so your Pathfinder is yours. It is completely the athletic trainers. It is private and secure. But what ATs can do is they can choose to download or share or copy parts with their employers to demonstrate their work in professional development, and they can use that for themselves to remind themselves to bolster their resumes or to build a career portfolio or do something in that line. And it's a way to track your professional development record, right? And so that's one way that an athletic trainer could use and collaborate with their employer, the place of employment, and use Pathfinder as a tool. Right? And then, we hope that as it evolves, that we can continue to build the item bank. Right now, Pathfinder is generalized, and the questions are applicable to all practice settings, and they're based off the practice analysis, which is the blueprint for the ATC high stakes exam. But in the future, as it grows, we hope to create tracks that an AT could lean into that could help them to focus in an area and maybe help them with a career transition or an advancement, etc.
Okay.
They might be able to demonstrate that to their employers. And of course, I think CPC, as we've seen through the Pathfinder pilot, which was a year-long pilot, had tangible benefits for athletic trainers, and we were able to track self-reported impacts for patient care, and so we are seeing those benefits as well. And so we were wondering, that's the ultimate purpose and role of Pathfinder and all work in athletic training, right, is patient outcomes. So we're working at that level as well.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think with the employer question, some people or some athletic trainers have very involved bosses, head athletic trainers. Some have very hands off, maybe in the high school where they don't really understand what an athletic trainer is. So I think some athletic trainers struggle with having these performance reviews and they aren't very informative. It's kind of coming out of left field on what they want you to accomplish, or maybe what they want to see you get more educated on, which, may go with the new direction that the department's going in. But I think some athletic trainers get very confused by some of the feedback that they get from their reviews. So I think the Pathfinder is a very personable way to self-reflect and help guide yourself. So that's cool that you can actually print off your results and be able to talk with your managers and stuff and say, hey, like I did this and this is where it's seen me. Can we kind of challenge that against what you guys are seeing, or can we merge the two? Because I know that professional development funds kind of sometimes rely on those performance reviews. So that's a cool way to keep your control over what you want to do, but be more meaningful about it, like you guys are talking about.
Sure. It opens the conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's a tool for those conversations. It's a way to be intentional and clear, and it
Mm-hmm.
helps give that structure to have and participate in those conversations. It's a tool, and
Yeah,
and they are the driver's seat ultimately.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you had talked about the two routes. Some athletic trainers always feel overwhelmed with new requirements, new steps, new things in the profession. How can they approach the CPC and not feel overwhelmed or feel put out that it's a new thing, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for helping us at the very beginning to emphasize that it's an alternative, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity and an option. It's not an additional requirement. It's a different path. And so I think thank you for helping us to communicate that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in its design, Pathfinder was built to fit into busy schedules using short spaced learning that's manageable and meaningful. We're using longitudinal learning principles and spaced learning to be able to revisit briefly evidence, but repetitively. And that's
Mm-hmm.
been beautifully shown in the literature and research to be highly effective. And so this idea is really intentional, and it's meant to make continuing education more supportive and personalized and not more complicated. So we've really put a lot of muscle into making it move in that direction and be that was on our radar for sure.
Yeah. So do you think that you'll keep the two paths, or do you think you're going to shift fully to the CPC model in the future? Or can you not tell at this moment?
Shannon?
So I would say it's a wait and see, but I
Okay.
think we would we're hopeful that it's something that we're working towards in
Mm-hmm.
having all ATs go through the CPC pathway. But we're certainly going to wait for a final decision on that until we get some more feedback later in the next reporting cycle. So,
Yeah. And you said that none of this data is really being saved or being reflected into professional profiles or anything. But are you guys extrapolating, taking out that information and maybe utilizing it towards like the examination for the master's students that are becoming certified at all? Possibly what weaknesses certified athletic trainers you're seeing across the board?
yeah, because this is meant for athletic trainers who have already been certified, really what the focus is with that data is how can we give it to approved providers to create continuing education programming that can, you know, lean into somebody's strengths
Mm-hmm.
or uh, close a gap. And so if anything, we would look at aggregate data of some themes that we might see of areas where athletic trainers are looking for continuing education. So we anticipate using it like that, but that's really the only way right now.
Okay. How do you feel the CPC may influence professional advocacy or recognition of athletic trainers within the healthcare landscape?
I think there's a lot of healthcare professions out there that already had a recertification exam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've gone to more of this bite-size assessment type things.
Mhm.
Whereas we're totally different in that we never had a recertification exam, nor do we anticipate ever, getting one in the near future, right? So it was really about making the athletic trainer a tool that helps helps them connect with their CEUs. I said to somebody, we want people to connect with their CEUs, not just collect CEUs. So really looking at how we can do that. And I think that you'll see, there are other healthcare professions that don't have a recertification exam, and they may, look at us to see how we're doing things. I anticipate that this is a new way of looking at continuing education and professional development. And so I really think that it could be something really cutting edge that catches on with other healthcare professions that may do continuing education more similarly to how we do it, in demonstrating that ATs are maintaining their competence. So I don't know, Heather, did you have any thoughts on that too?
No, I'm really excited to be part of it because I do feel it's so innovative, and it's an opportunity for ownership of one's own professional development path to be really prioritized. And that's really important in leveraging the most powerful outcomes.
Yeah. So if there was an athletic trainer listening right now and we're skeptical about the CPC still, even though it sounds pretty good, what would you want them to know? Or is there anything we missed in our whole presentation today?
Yeah, I think for me, I would want them to know that it's not scary. Change is hard, right? Change is hard for everyone. But this is not something to be scared of. And if you let it be, it could be really engaging and kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, how often do you get a challenge question? And how can you make it a game against yourself, right? Like, this is all about you and your professional development journey. And so we're just trying to be more intentional and create a space where you guys can do that. So Heather, how about you?
Yeah, well, I guess one thing I'd love to emphasize is the fact that they can try it. There are no penalties, right? You can go and explore and give it a go and work in it and see. Just give it a shot. There's no consequences for taking a step in it. So
Definitely.
Zero risk.
Yep.
And how would people sign up for this? Would this just be through their portal on the BOC? Is it flashing lights, CPC, pathway? How do people navigate and select this if they were interested?
Yeah, so everyone will be enrolled in CPC. So to start off, and eventually they will see an opt-out button. We're probably going to try to make them try it a little bit, get a little taste of it before we give them that opt-out button. But and we'll have more information to come as far as what that, what your profile is going to look like, and that sort of thing. So I would say stay tuned. Keep looking for your emails and information from the BOC, because as things start rolling out, we'll keep sharing.
Yeah, definitely. And then if somebody wanted to connect with the BOC, if they had more questions, how do they do that?
Sure. It's they can always call us, right? Or they can send us an email, pathfinder@bocatc.org.
Perfect.
And somebody was always there. They could also send a message in their profile. So
Perfect.
any way you can get a hold of us, we'll answer.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on. This was very informative, and I'm excited to try this out in 2026.
Great. Love it.
Shelby. Yep.
That's it for today's episode of To the Bone. I hope we've sparked some new thoughts, challenged your perspectives, or simply reminded you to dig a little deeper. Remember, life isn't just about what's on the surface. Sometimes you've got to cut deeper and get to the bone of what really matters. To the Bone podcast is a product of Daly LLC. It's hosted and produced by Shelby Daly, ATC, and Randy Daly. No clinical decision-making should be based solely on one source. While care is taken to ensure accuracy, factual errors can be present. For more on the show, visit www.tothebonepodcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Get involved in the conversation. You can find us at www.tothebonepodcast.com. Drop us topic suggestions or be a potential guest. We're all about connecting with you, our listeners. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep cutting deep.